Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a little bit of coffee to get you started. I'm just going to warn you, I haven't. So this is like a community service thing, because once I've had my coffee, it's all over Red Rover. So today I want to talk to you about outsourcing, and I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction about why I would have any authority to give you any kind of insights around outsourcing. I've been running Virtually Yours, which is an Aussie-based VA network since 2004. So a little bit of a different perspective than what Hayley brought to us just a couple of moments ago, which is great because, having a few different perspectives just gives you a lot more opportunity to, grow your business in a way that works for you. So on that network, we have hundreds of virtual assistants around Australia. They come together to collaborate, connect, avoid social isolation. I know a lot of you would understand when you're working from home, it can feel very, isolating at times. And also when you have shit clients, you want somewhere where you can safely go and vent without using names and have people there that have got your back. And that's what it's all about. I've published 3 books. 2 of them are for virtual assistants. So the first one's more of a guide called Vavavoom, How to Be an Amazing Virtual Assistant and Every Client's Most Valued Asset. And then last year, Reaching for the Stars. And this year I've published a book which is for people like yourselves about how to outsource and how to prepare yourself, because it can be a little bit intimidating and scary. And I liken it to, I always talk about outsourcing as showing somebody your business undies, because we all know we've got a certain perception that people have of us and our businesses. And so to get somebody in to help you, you've got to show them, that back end. It's a little bit terrifying. So we all assume, looking at each other, that you've got, your ducks in a row. And more often than not, that's not overly accurate. So I just want to start, I want to get you thinking about where you fit in this sort of journey. This is a sort of journey I see people coming to me quite often with, where they'll start, they're inspired, they want to start their business. How many here are sort of within the first year of business? Yeah? Oh, I've got a couple, fantastic. And then what about sort of 2 to 5 years? 5 to 10? More than that? What a great mix, that's awesome, well done guys. So some of you won't remember this. But that first bit where you're excited, you're like, I'm going to run this, it's going to be mine. I'm not going to give money to the man. I'm not going to talk, answer to the man. I'm going to make this my whole thing. I'm going to have flexibility and freedom and make all these wonderful choices and make bucket loads of money and go on holidays whenever I want. Do you remember that? It was cute, wasn't it? Yeah. And then after a little bit, you go, oh my God, this is like a chain on my leg. I am working more than I ever did. As they say, when you're self-employed, you have the benefit to choose which 17 hours a day you work. And you're working overtime and it's crazy. And then you've got people like Hayley who can do a whole presentation on avoiding, getting stuck doing it, because we all do it, right? Over the last few years, thanks to outsourcing and also mindset, I've been able to kind of move away from feeling guilty when I'm not working on my business. And that's something that's quite hard to learn. How many of you feel sometimes like, if I'm not working on my business, I'm lazy? Yeah. And it's a real mindset thing. It can be really quite hard to get out of. And so then getting somebody in to help you is a really, again, mindset sort of stuff. It's a real challenge to get to that next point. And so you get overwhelmed and you've got to make a decision at this point. Okay, am I going to keep on working these crazy hours? I've kind of forgotten what my kids look like. I haven't attended, I was going to attend all the kids' school things and I haven't attended any of them. That kind of feeling of crazy. I've got to make a change. And who here has got to that point in their business where they've gone, I've got to bring in some help? Yeah. And it's such a massive step, and it's an exciting step. It's really wonderful. So at that point, you go out and you look for information about how you can outsource and how you can get someone to come in and help you out, and there's more information out there than you can poke a stick at. And you've got people saying you can go $4 offshore. You can get someone here in Australia. Go local. Support your local economy. No, go offshore. This is a virtual assistant. This isn't a virtual assistant. What sort of help do you need? And it's really overwhelming, and you were already overwhelmed. Yeah? Yuck. Okay, so once you make that decision and you actually access the right resources, or you come to something like this today and you stop and you think, okay, how am I actually going to approach this in a way that's going to work for me so that I can get beyond this overwhelm? It's great that Hayley started with sort of that whole topic this morning. I appreciate that. And you access those support tools, you create a plan, and we're going to talk about these steps in just a moment. You work out where that support can fit into your plan, and you start getting more leverage with your time. Okay? Leveraged, yay! Who wants to be leveraged? Yay! It sounds uncomfortable, but it's actually a really good place to be. Okay, so what are the things that you need before you can successfully outsource? You need to have clarity. A lot of people will say, I'm overwhelmed, this is really hard, there's too much work to do, I need a virtual assistant. And they get somebody in and they don't know what stuff to give them to start with because it's too hard and they're overwhelmed and it's all that sort of thing. The first thing you need to do is actually stop and get some clarity on where you are now, why you're where you are now, and where you want to go. And look at the gaps between where you are now and where you want to be. Sounds really simple, but a lot of people will get a virtual assistant. It's like a band-aid for a broken leg because they don't know how that person's going to fit into the structure of their business and the strategy moving forward. Trust is a big one, as I said, about business undies. Another inappropriate Rosieism is that VAs are like the gynecologists of the business world. They've seen everything. But they have, and for them, they want your business to kind of, at the start, suck at the back end. So you're giving them a gift. If it's all messy and it's terrible, that's a really sweet thing, and you can give that to a virtual assistant for Christmas and say, I'm going to give you this so you can fix it all up. But trust is a big one, and again, mentioned this morning around how do you know what they're working on? You know, how do you trust that they're working on what you want them to? You've got IP, you know, making sure that your stuff's protected. And these are all things that you do need to consider, but having trust and finding the right fit is really, really important because it is your business, baby, and you do need to be on the same page. But you're not going to have trust unless you communicate, again, from that clarity, where you are now, where you want to go, and how they fit into that. Does that make sense? Yeah? Beautiful. Communication. If you're a bad communicator, it's going to be a real problem with building your team and outsourcing. And you would need to address that first, because if you can't communicate clearly what your needs and wants are, what your pain points are, you know, if you are a person that doesn't like phone communication, like me, you need to be really good with email communication, and you need to communicate that you don't like phone communication and be able to communicate, again, those boundaries to make sure that you're all on the same page, you're not pissing each other off every other day of the week. And communication, especially when your team are working with clients for you, it's even more so because you've got that whole middleman thing going on. It's very easy for things to be lost in translation. So these are some of the skills you really need to have. So with recruitment, there were some questions that were asked before around staff versus contractors, onshore versus offshore. What I've learned over the last few years is that if you know what those goals are that you're looking for, you will be able to determine more quickly whether or not you need someone who's a staff or a contractor, because you'll know where they fit in, how much commitment's required and whatnot. So a lot of people though will start with a contractor because it's not a marriage, you know. It's much easier to let a contractor go than staff. And when you're hiring staff in Australia, you've got all of those regulations around, you know, hiring and firing that you need to consider. So if you do decide that you want to work with staff for your business, make sure that you work with a recruitment agency or a recruitment specialist who can guide you to make sure that you're covering all your bases. You've got the right agreements, policies and procedures in place. With a contractor, you need to have an agreement. You need to have your privacy policy and your confidentiality policy, but the agreement will outline whether or not you've got, you know, a period of time that you need to give notice. So in the past, when I was doing virtual assistance work, I had some clients who I was spending massive amount of hours with each week or each month. And for them, I would want a little bit of notice if I was going to leave. And vice versa, I would give them notice if I was going to leave. And so it's with the agreement, it's about working out what works for that relationship. Some people, it'll just be like, well, if, you know, we've got a few hours here and there, if I don't want to do any more work or you don't want me anymore, we can just go without having to worry about that. But usually you want to tie up some loose ends. If things get awkward or, you know, you have a personality clash, you want to be able to sever those ties. So you have to have an agreement in place that outlines what's going to happen should certain situations arise. And also restriction of trade. So you might have somebody who's providing a service to you where they're helping you with marketing your business or, doing, and that could be all sorts of stuff, as you know, with their website or copywriting or any kind of marketing, really. You don't really want them, so SEO management, keeping you awake, Kate. You don't really want them competing, providing those services to your competitors. And so with the industries that we have now, so my partner has a business that is, location specific. So if we were to hire someone to do social media management, we wouldn't want them to be providing social media support for our industry within that locality. A lot of us are providing services that are nationwide. What those, who your main competitors are and who you would have that conflict of interest with should one of your team members be supporting somebody else. Because as a contractor, they can work with whoever they want, but up front you need to be really clear about, what will work for you and what won't. And then you both agree. Either they say, no, I'm not up for that, I'm not going to stop working for that person, or they say, yes, I will. That's what an agreement's all about. Technology. Who loves technology? Party. This place is going off. We had a lot of fun with technology this morning already. And with building for me, it's a virtual team. The communication is usually online, using stuff like your Trello and your Asana and ClickUp. I use Asana, and again, like Hayley was saying before, have the templates for all the different projects so that we can copy them into certain sections that are allocated within Asana, and my whole team have access to that. So they can change things around or add tasks, remove tasks, take things off my hands, all that sort of thing, which is really, really nice. So yeah, you need to be able to share information. So, and also stuff like your G Suite with your Google Drive, having that ability today to have our documents here in G Suite so that we can all just log in and show our information up on the screen is just another case of where that technology and sharing is really, really helpful. So not all virtual assistants require their clients to be au fait with tech. I think they're crazy when they work with somebody who struggles with tech because it does make it harder. But for some people, that's kind of their specialty, is guiding people through the maze of tech. Okay, so what do you need to do? As I said at the start, set goals. You cannot communicate with your team where you want to go unless you know. I'm a really big believer in this. This is the whole, you can send out your team to go and find a new car for your business, and you say, go and find me a car, because we need a car for our business to get us from A to B. And they come back and they bring you a Lexus, a Hyundai, and a truck, and they have met the brief, right? And you're thinking, well, I wanted a Mazda 3. Why didn't you bring me a Mazda 3? So, and it's like that with every project you do. They cannot understand what those filters are that you have in place until you know what your goals are and you communicate them. Some people do keep their cards close to their chest when they're running a business because they've got those fears around, well, what if they run off with my idea? Or, what if it fails? I don't want to let people see and know that this is what I'm doing. That's where your confidentiality agreement comes into place for starters, but you do have to have that trust and set those goals together and work with them together, because if you're not clear on that, your team will be working on things, an end goal will be met, but it's not the one you visualised, which is not ideal. Okay, so you create a map. I love looking at, just writing a list of where you're at now with your marketing, where you're at now with your systems, your processes, with your finances, with managing everything, with your customer care. Where are you at now and where do you want to be? And then what is the gap in the middle and what sort of roles fit in to those gaps and where are you going to find those skills? And also looking at, with those roles to get you from here to here, what are the things you don't like doing? What are the things that don't directly bring you money? Understanding what you're worth per hour at your most valuable activity is really important, because when you're spending time doing things that you don't like, or that you are, so you're going to be slower, or that you are not generating that money for you, it's costing your business instead of making you money. So you then need to recruit your team. You need to decide, am I going to go onshore, offshore? What are the pros and cons? Offshore, you're not going to have your IP protected. You might have problems with internet connections and dropouts and just cultural things. Sometimes communication's an issue. Onshore, you might find that too, because some people suck and they've got no excuse. But ideally, you would have someone who's also running a business, because offshore, they're like sometimes they'll be running through a network, so they're just waiting for the next client or next job to come through. So they're running a business in the Australian business culture, so they get what it's like to be building your business here. If your target market's overseas, you might want to have support overseas. If your target market's here, it's great to have a team who gets the people that you're trying to target. So that might be age, criteria as well. If you're targeting a really younger market, you might want to have a couple of younger people on the team. If you're, like your Gen Y or whatever it might be. But you need to, again, if you know where you want to go, you'll understand, okay, these are the sort of supports that I need. I'm a really big believer that when you use an onshore virtual assistant, which is my specialty, they are going to be growing their business. So when they're networking for themselves, they're networking for you. And they should be. So when they're out there, they'll see opportunities to connect you with people. They'll see speaking opportunities because they're still growing their business. So they're out there and they're communicating, they're advocating for you. And they are also looking at, they understand how hard it is to let go of stuff within your business. I don't work with virtual assistants unless they've outsourced themselves, because they've got to practice what they preach. If they're too scared to outsource, why should I outsource to them? And a lot of new VAs will say, just give me work, just give me the work, I can do it for you. But they don't understand how hard that is, the trust that's involved. And so I work with VAs, I'd say to them, go and outsource first. Look at something that you suck at in your business, or, get your website done. Get someone to do your website. Because if you're doing it all yourself, you don't know how it feels. You can't relate to how it feels for me. And then you need to lead and manage. And this is where you need to have that communication ongoing. Check in with them, whether it's once a week, once a fortnight, as in like a Skype or a Zoom chat, and just see, okay, this is where we're at. It might be a 10-minute chat, it might be an hour. Check in with them. For mine, we communicate pretty much all day, every day on Facebook Messenger, and that works for me. We never ring each other up. It's always on Facebook Messenger, and my team are my cheer squad, and I am their cheer squad. And so there's that added bonus too, that we kind of mentor each other as well, which is really nice. But checking in and making sure, if I'm thinking of a new plan or new product or a new activity, I share it with them pretty much straight away, because I'm one of those, I'm a shiny object person. So once I've thought of it, I kind of want to implement it that hour. So you need to be doing that and making sure that they are feeling comfortable and confident in the work they're providing for you. It's important to note too that with virtual assistants, I know you mentioned earlier about not being a jack of all trades, and this goes for you guys as well, with web development or copywriting or whatever it is that you do. You need to have that area that you understand that is your shining thing, right? Your jam. Virtual assistants are the same. I kind of caution you with virtual assistants who say they do everything. That you can't, like we all know that, you can't. So find virtual assistants that know what excites and invigorates them, because they'll be better at it. So you might end up with a couple of people. Some people love managing other VAs, which is great. So they're called online business managers usually, so OBM, you might have heard the term. Other ones hate doing that, but they love putting together all your tech or your workflows, or making sure your books are lined up, or your copy, or social media management, all that sort of thing. And usually, if they're really good at it, they will pick one particular area there to be doing. So, but I found when I was doing virtual assistance work, I was doing websites. So I was actually living in WordPress. But I had clients check in. My favourite clients always checked in and said, what do you love working on at the moment? Because it changes. And so I recommend doing that. If you've got a team that you're supporting and you lead in managing, give them the opportunity to grow and evolve and change what it is that they love. It can be a bit of a pain sometimes, but it means that they're working on something that excites them. So the benefits, obviously, you're going to have more support in your business, and it can be so hard doing it all yourself. It really can. So having those people there, not only supporting you with the task at hand, with getting the project done, but as I said before, with the headspace. My team are there just going, like this morning, you've got this, you're going to be amazing, rah, 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 and they're just always supporting, always. And they'll also call me on it if I've got a really shiny idea and it's a really ridiculous one, or I haven't finished this shiny idea over here. So they'll call me on it and just say, look, Rosie, slow down. What are you doing? You'll have more growth. When you start outsourcing, there's that fear around how can I afford it? Yeah? You've got to invest in these people, obviously. What I've found is every time I've brought somebody on in my business and I've used that, a strategy, I know what I'm bringing them on for, my business grows. And so that happens as a consequence of bringing them on. I've waited to have enough money. I know the money will come if I manage my team right. So if you've got the right people there and you can implement the stuff you want to be implementing, you're going to have more growth. Freedom. You can go out and you can actually do those things. Remember, you can figure out what your kids look like. It's exciting. You can go to those really fun kids' activities at school that you're worried about missing. Aren't they great? I love them. You can also just go, sometimes, I love the freedom of my business in that, if I'm not feeling well, I can handball stuff. This month, I've had a lot of issues with asthma. I had a webinar scheduled the other day with a gorgeous guest talking about Instagram in my network, and I was able to say to my team, look guys, can one of you just host this for me please? I'm going to bed. And they did, and I didn't check in to see how they were going because I knew they had it. They'd work it out. And that is the freedom. I can look after myself. I can stop and go, I've got a big weekend ahead, I'm going to be going up to Sydney from Melbourne. I want to make sure that, I'm having the break that I need. Or maybe I just need to go to the hairdressers because it's really important, isn't it? It is. And that direction, because you do need to check in with them, you can't wing it and every week and go, yay, we're moving forward. I don't know what on. It's going to be something cool. You kind of got to get a little bit clearer on your direction, and they'll help you with that. The amount of skills, ideas and connections my team have brought to me, and they're all contractors. I don't have staff. The amount of that they've brought to me in my business has been invaluable. So definitely helped with direction. So what do you know about VAs? They work remotely, so they're not going to come into your office to work. If you do want someone to come into your office to work, they're going to be using your equipment, they're going to be on site. You need to speak to the ATO because they may very well just say that is a staff member. Even if you have your agreements in place, they may say you now need to pay them superannuation, you need to pay them sick leave and annual leave. We define that because you're providing the equipment that you've stated when they need to come in that they are an employee. So a virtual assistant is remote, they're providing a business-to-business service. A lot of web developers don't identify as virtual assistants. The way I define virtual assistants is any business support that is provided from a business to business remotely is within the virtual assistance industry. Okay? So I reckon you're all VAs. All right. They're highly skilled. Hello? Yeah? Yep. And they should be focusing on a particular skill set and growing that and honing that. And they're self-employed. The VA industry is huge. There are so many VAs out there. Have any of you ever gone onto Facebook and gone, hey, I need help, I need a VA? Has anyone done it? Yeah? Did you get about 723 responses? Yeah, because that's exactly what you've got time for right now, right? So it makes it a lot harder, but at the same time, there are, the skills are going to be out there that you need. So you can go, I've got a website, virtuallyyours.com.au, and it allows people to fill out a form that asks you what sort of support you need. And that information will go to our network, and those members who are part of a network, who are outsourcing, who are consistently learning, will contact you to have a chat about your needs. And it will get rid of that insanity of Facebook inbox. So you've got to find the right VA. It's like finding the right pair of shoes, right? And I just like this picture of these shoes, right? So you've got to have a shared purpose. You're not going to be wearing heels to a tennis match, right? They've got to fit you right. They've got to be the right personality. Don't look for another you. You've got a you, and you've got things that you suck at. You need to find the person that fills the gaps in your business. Another you will just be really painful. If you're trying to find another you to provide more services to your clients, I get it. But if you want someone to help you grow your business, You need someone to fit the bits you don't currently fit. They obviously need to be the right price. You've got to work out your budget, what you can afford. You might not be able to afford what you want. Doesn't mean that the VA is too expensive, it just means you need to work out your budget. And available. Some VAs are going to be working evenings. Some VAs will work only during school hours. Same as all of you, we all select when we work, when we're available. So you need to find a good fit for you. When are you most likely going to need to speak to them and contact them? Okay? Sometimes you'll do all that and you'll find a VA who kind of sucks. And that's okay, because they've said all the things that you want to hear, but you've got to kiss some frogs, as Kate says, yeah? So here are some tips I've got to help you avoid kissing too many frogs, because that's just unhygienic. Okay, so communicate your need very clearly. Don't just say, I need a VA. Say what your pain points are, what your goals are that you're trying to achieve, what your dreams are, things that you hate doing, things that shit you off. Be really open about it, all right? Because then you'll find the right people. If someone doesn't like you saying like what I just said then, they're not going to be the right fit for you. And that's fine, because you want to know that up front. Communicate really clearly with each other consistently, because you are remote. It's easy for people to feel disconnected. So make sure that they feel like they're part of a team and are constantly able to, work towards this greater goal together. Understand the value that each of you brings to the table. So it's about mutual respect. Always. Your VA is not below you. They're a contractor helping you grow your business. They're bringing skills that you don't have, time that you don't have. So you need to invest in them and keep reviewing. Every 3 months, review the situation. See where you're at. Oh, I did little things. I forgot. Lucky I stuck with that. So check in and make sure that you're on the same page and that you do still want to keep doing the same stuff together and you're working together well. So core message, communicate, okay? And don't be a twat, all right? I'm not looking at anyone in particular. I'm just trying to do this. No, so don't be someone who calls your team members at 10 p.m. and then 10:30 and then 9 a.m. wondering why they haven't returned your call. Those people are out there, and if you're in this room, I don't like you. Okay, just saying. Yeah. Woo! Respect. It's all about mutual respect. Communicate. Understand that each other is helping you get somewhere better than where you were. Okay? They're not, and don't nitpick invoices. Oh, side segue with paying your VA. If you can try and get outcome-based agreements in place rather than hourly, it'll help you focus on the outcome rather than the time. So where possible, and when you know what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve, it's going to be easier for you to negotiate outcome-based packages, okay? So, partner for success, exactly what I just said then. Mutual goals, mutual respect, mutually beneficial. All right, this is how I chill. That's what I do in my office. All right, so these are my contact details that I'm going to show you next left. I'm very serious about life, and I hope that that's come across today. If you ever want to get in touch with me and ask me questions that I couldn't possibly have answered in the 45 minutes that I've had today, please do. Please reach out. Don't ring me. It's going to go to my reception team because they filled a gap for me. I suck at answering phones, so they do it for me. But I'm really good with Messenger and email, particularly Messenger, surprisingly. So please reach out if you've got any questions, or have we got a little bit of time now for some questions? Awesome, let's do a little bit of that. Thank you so much for listening. Miss Toon.
Oh.
She's got a sore throat. She's going to whisper into the microphone.
I've had lots of different VAs. Hello, by the way.
Hello.
That's very good. I've had lots of different VAs over the years, some good, some bad. What do you think is a reasonable amount of time for people to evaluate the relationship with their VA?
Great question. I do think you need to have. I do in the employment world. It's that 3-month probation. I think that's still good for contractors. You're going to have at least a month there where you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? This is too hard. Yeah. Because it is, it's going to be really hard. They don't know what is going on in your brain, which is a great thing sometimes. My team have had to get to know me. Each time we've brought people on, they think they know how I work, And then they go, oh, you're a bit like that. Okay, and we've got to adjust. And I find that about them. I go, oh, I didn't realise you were so anal about that, or you were so cash about that. And then you work out, you know, how to get things aligned and in the right track. So I think about 3 months is good. If there's alarm bells before that, then run, you know. But if it's just about tweaking and communicating and being on the same page, I think about 3 months. Thank you. Any more questions?
We'll take one more quick one because we're running really late. Anybody?
Yep, over here. They want to see you run again.
Oh my God.
They always, it's always the top right-hand corner.
Yep.
Hang on, apparently you must have the microphone. Very important.
Now that I've run all this way, you've got to use the microphone.
So I could easily be criticised for this, but if you're looking at VAs in the whole world,
Yes.
there must be, like, there's so many different cultural perceptions and communications. Like, I'm sure I've had a logo. Like, we've all had. I'm sure anyone who's used Fiverr, or any of you used those things when
Freelancer, Fiverr.
you put something in. I'd like this, and it comes back like so completely different to what you've written.
Yeah.
You lose $25 or $100.
It's kind of like a little comedy thing, though, isn't it? Can you entertain me for $25? I'm going to ask you for a logo, but I actually just want you to make me laugh, right? So, is that, who else has experienced that? Yeah, it's sad though. With some stuff, as you said, people are everywhere. Anywhere where they've got internet, they can be doing virtual assistance work. And so, you might need someone's had an old logo, they now need vectorized so they can freshen it up, yeah? And you're like, well, I don't want to pay, a huge amount of money for a really high-end graphic designer here to do a vectorization, even though they'd be amazing at it. I can get that cheaper without them getting too confused on Fiverr, right? And so maybe you go and you do that. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It depends on whether you're willing to risk it or what your budget is. And you might find success there. Everyone's got to make a choice. It's the same with virtual assistants. I've had people go, I can't afford an Australian-based VA. I'm going to go offshore and just see how I go. I've actually hired offshore sometimes because I was doing a bit of research. And I was really, really keen to find out what they did well so that I could train the VAs on my network to make sure they step up, right? And say to them, you can't say, just buy local. It's not enough because we've all got a budget for this. So you've got to show your worth. And if I hire someone offshore, for a cheaper amount and they do it better than you have, then you have a problem. We have a problem on our hands. We've got to fix this. We didn't have a problem on our hands with the ones that I used. I had someone come to me and said they want to do some writing. Kate, you'll love this one. Wanted to do some copy for me. And I said, that's great. I'm about to launch my second book. I need a press release done for that. And I actually gave the same information to someone locally, just to compare. Now, the local one came back with 100 questions because obviously I had not provided enough information and got a lot of clarity and all that sort of thing, which I did, and they put together a beautiful press release. The one offshore, I hired her because she'd approached me and her mother was an English teacher, and so her English was very good. She came back and she had copied the press release from my previous book and sent that to me as the press release for my new book. And I said, I don't quite get what you're trying to do here. This is not quite what I asked for. And then she went to Wikipedia and copied something about my website from Wikipedia and gave it to me. And at that point, I said to her, I don't know what planet you're on, but it's not working for me. So you're going to have hit and miss. I know some people who've got great VAs offshore, absolutely. And you're going to have cultural stuff. Even the US-based VAs work differently. The vibe, everything. We've had speakers from the US. It just feels a bit different. UK, same thing. Depends where your target market is and what you're trying to achieve as to where you go. And there's no right or wrong answer. And it's always going to be a risk. You might find someone here goes AWOL in Australia, get a VA and they just fall off the planet. It's always a risk, which sucks. Does that answer your question or did I just go completely off tangent? Yeah? All right.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap it up there because we're way over on. So you've got time to quickly run out. Big hand for Rosie too. Big hand.
Thank you.